Hey, what is up, guys? Blunt Cuts here. This is a Watcher of Realms video. Thank you so much for tuning into my channel. I really appreciate it. I want to talk about Kigiri, the new limited. He is going to be coming out tomorrow, which is Thursday, October 17th. Day before my birthday, actually. So hopefully Moonton hears that, and they're going to give me some birthday presents, birthday luck. I don't need presents, just luck. That'd be fine. But I do want to talk about Kigiri here. He is... I feel like, you know what? I may be wrong about this, but it feels like every time there's a limited that comes out, they get hyped just so much by the content creator community. And my hope is that I can provide kind of a more, I guess, sobering take maybe on this guy a little bit. I do think he's good. I think he's going to be good. It just, where is he going to be good is the real question. And he's got a kind of an odd kit, and it really all revolves around this skill right here, Sweeping Strike. Dashes towards the target direction and performs a sword drawing slash, dealing 180% AoE damage one time to up to 6 enemies in the path, then deals 480% damage one time to one of these enemies. He's immune to all damage during the cast. Sounds really cool, right? He's got this big like vortex range on the Sweeping Strike itself, meaning that he can dash very far away. And the problem is I think controlling it more than anything. And on top of that, are there going to be enemies in the path? Which, there's just, I don't know. I think, you look at the talent here, can launch Sweeping Strikes at the furthest enemy within the ultimate's range every 40 seconds. That's a long time. It's a long, long time. Each time basic attack deals damage, it reduces the cooldown of Sweeping Strike by 1 second. The AoE damage of Sweeping Strike and Ember Strike, which is kind of an upgraded Sweeping Strike. That is, I think you have to trigger the ultimate during that, and you have to parry within 3 seconds of the ultimate, meaning that he's going to mitigate the damage, whatever damage happens. As long as he gets damage within the first 3 seconds, he's going to parry it and take 0 damage, and then he's going to charge forward. He's going to do 200% AoE damage instead of 180, and he's going to do 480% damage twice, 400% damage twice to enemies in the path. And he's also going to inflict bleed, which is 10% physical damage taken from all sources, which is awesome. 1% of target's max HP per second. There's a lot going on with this hero, and as much as I would really like to be on board with him, there's just some things that I don't think are going to really manifest in a way that'll allow his kit to be fully taken advantage of, except in particular situations. So the one thing I haven't said about this, like this paragraph of a talent description right here, is that the additional damage ignores 50% defense and dispels 1 buff. And that is unique as well. Well, it's not quite unique, right? Because alongside him, there's going to be another banner with Lucius on it that is the only other dispeller in the game, right? And is not reliant on the Sweeping Strike to dispel this stuff. It's on use in the ultimate, although both of them kind of have this weird mechanic where you're not in complete control. You either have to wait for the Sweeping Strike to go off from Kigiri, or in Lucius's case, you have to use the ultimate before he enters into his like demon stance or whatever. And I don't know. It's just a lot to manage. It's a lot to kind of sort through with this. There's a lot going on, and you kind of need perfect conditions to make this happen. I think one thing, and I haven't even got to the skills yet, right? But we're just talking through, because this talent is such a huge part of his kit. Let's just talk through this here and kind of work through this. So he's going to do Sweeping Strikes every 40 seconds, period. Full stop. That is guaranteed at minimum. That is how frequently they will go out. Then you've got this kind of cooldown reduction mechanic here. Each time basic attack deals damage, it reduces the cooldown of Sweeping Strike by 1 second. So if we look at his, let's take a look, 2.6 second attack interval, which means with decent, like let's say 350 to 400 speed, you should get that down to 1.4, 1.3 seconds or so. That is means that you're probably going to end up having somewhere around a 20 second cooldown between the Sweeping Strikes that deploy automatically. Now, again, like I said earlier, his ultimate will also deploy one, but you're only going to get this once every 20 seconds or so. That is only when you can consistently be attacking a target, meaning that, especially when you look at his range up here, he's only got 1 tile range, meaning that he has to be standing directly in front of it. You can't plant him behind a tank or anything like that. He will still do the Sweeping Strike at the extended range, but he's not going to be able to sit there and attack over and over again and get the cooldown reduction without being kind of on the front line in front of an enemy. So these are things that need to be taken into consideration, because as cool as he sounds, he needs good, like perfect conditions in order to make all this stuff happen. So with that said, I'll come back to that a little bit later, and I'll kind of talk through it a little bit more. But basic attack, pretty standard here, 100% damage to one enemy one time, goes up to 120% with full skill ups. The ultimate here, this is where we get another like long paragraph filled with information here. So it is a 700 base, 600 fully skilled up, rage cost ultimate, 400 initial rage. It looks like I don't think he gets any more from that in the skill ups. So it is going to be 400 initial rage permanently, which is great. It's got an 8-second duration. Sheath is the blade. Sheaths. Sometimes you get on camera and you say dumb things. So, we're going to leave that in there for your enjoyment at home. Sheaths the blade and prepares to launch an extra sweeping strike after up to 8 seconds. When receiving direct damage while sheathed, parries the damage and launches the extra sweeping strike early. So as soon as he takes damage, he's going to parry it, meaning he will take no damage, and then he's going to do his sweeping strike. If parry is triggered within 3 seconds of entering the sheath state, launches Ember Strike instead. So he gets the upgraded one if he takes damage immediately. So cool thing about this is that if you are playing manually, you can kind of control this if you know damage is coming, particularly for boss fights like Guild Boss 2, Guild Boss 1, things like that, when there are like regular intervals when you know an AoE damage that is going to hit him is going to be coming out. You can time this. It's like micromanagement, which I don't love. It's going to fall apart on autos, I can guarantee that, but you will be able to get basically a boosted strike every 600 rage, essentially. So there is that. You are going to get extra Ember Strike damage based on that looks like 120%, excuse me, 80% extra on the single target damage, and then another 40% on the AoE damage, meaning that Ember Strike is going to be, 240% AoE damage, and then it will be, that's 60% over Sweeping Strike, and then a 480% damage 2 times to one target at the end for that bonus damage that is going to ignore 50% of defense and dispel a buff. So, it's a cool skill. If you can time it, that's great. I don't really want that level of micromanagement in my Guild Boss 2 runs. I'm very happy with my Lucius. I think that if you have Lucius, I don't know that you need this guy for boss fights. I think we've seen some damage tests, and part of the reason that I'm not going to be doing a damage test is because there have been a bunch of them that have been put out, and I just don't know that you really need him anywhere. Is my real issue. If you're not getting 120k on Guild Boss 2, then yeah, you might need him. If you don't have Lucius, you might need him. If you don't have a bunch of Nightmare Fighters, although I don't know how that could be possible at this point, because it seems like every other unit that is released in the game is a Nightmare Fighter. Hell, we got Twyla coming up in a couple weeks for Halloween, more than likely, and she is yet another Nightmare Fighter. Better one, if you ask me, based on what I've seen. But it's I don't know. He does some cool things. I'm just skeptical, I guess. I think that in perfect conditions, he's going to be great, but the only time it's going to be perfect is during boss fights. So, in any case, ultimate, basically, as soon as you take damage, you're going to be doing a strike. If it's within 3 seconds of activating the ult, you are going to get increased damage on that. Also, the other thing to note, he's not going to be doing any damage until he does take damage after the ult is triggered. So, that's another thing. Like, are you going to be waiting until you know damage is coming? Otherwise, he's just going to be standing there. You have to kind of do a calculus in your mind where you're thinking, is he going to lose more damage by by not doing basic attacks for 8 seconds if you're not taking damage than he would if you're getting by using the ultimate? It really, and I don't know. It's just, this is a lot going on here. Why we need this level of complexity with a hero that is just going to be used for boss fights and ideally is going to be used in auto runs for boss fights eventually. It's just, to me, seems like a recipe for a disaster. But Flow State, his passive, parrying during Tranquil Reflection, increases attack by 20% for 10 seconds. So that's awesome. It's going to go up to 30% when you do have him fully skilled up. So basically, during his ultimate, he's going to get a 30% attack bonus, assuming he does take damage on that, which is great. That's very significant. 30% attack is awesome, especially when we can take a look at his base stats here. We can put him at max level. He's got 6470 attack at A0, which is massive. I mean, that's a big boy attack right there. That's up there with like Valderon and shoot, who else has really high attack? It's not Ardea level, but like Salazar. What's her name? I know Ares has really high attack. I know that Valeria has really high attack. So, like, there's a set of fighters. Most of them are nightmare fighters, ironically, or not ironically, I guess at this point. But that there's a set of these fighters that do have over 6,000 attack, and it is a major difference, especially when you're taking on endgame content where the defense really starts to scale up because that attack, because of the way the damage formula works, you are going to be able to kind of clear the enemy defense more easily if you're able to stack more attack. And of course, because everything is based on percentage attack bonus, the higher your base attack is, the more you're going to be able to stack that and kind of overcome that defense. So he does kind of fit the bill that way.
And his swallow counter, when sweeping strike and ember strike end, there is a 15% chance to immediately launch an identical strike in the opposite direction. This strike cannot trigger this effect again. You get another 10%, so it's going to be a 25% chance when fully skilled up. This is awesome. This is really cool. So he goes forward and does his either sweeping or ember strike, and then swallow counter, basically he's got a 25% chance when fully skilled up to do a second strike on the way back to the tile that he's actually placed on. So cool. Really just, this is an excellent part of his kit. And again, it's going to really double his damage. The thing I don't love about it, and this is solved at A5, but as built right now, until you get 6 copies of him, this is only a 25% chance, which means that you can't really count on it going off regularly. I think that in long boss fights, again, going back to the boss fight thing, this is amazing, right? This is something that because you're going to have enough opportunities for this RNG to kind of balance out, it should end up somewhere close to that 25% number, 1 in 4 chances. That's great. But in high leverage situations where you need him to do a certain amount of damage, you can't even really consider this, right? Because it's only going to happen 1 in 4 times. And if it needs to happen at a particular time in order for you to down content, then you're just going to be banging your head against the wall, hoping you get the right RNG. And, so again, back to it. Long boss fights, this guy's going to be fantastic in. Otherwise, I'm not really all that sure. Let's go take a look at his Awakenings. I've rambled on long enough, but this hero's kit is just bonkers complicated, and I felt like it needed a bit of explication here. So, at A1, when launching a basic attack, additionally restores 3 rage and 3% HP. Interesting, that sounds good, but when you think about it, that is 0.5% rage regen per hit. When you compare that to something like Praetus, who gets 3% per basic attack, that is utter trash. The HP is nice. I mean, he's going to self-heal, which is great, but it's not going to be enough to make you feel like he can act as a tank or anything like that. I don't know. It's not a bad bonus. I mean, I won't scoff at like extra rage or 3% HP, but I think we should consider what it actually is at the end of the day, right? He has a 600 rage cost ultimate, meaning that 1% of that 600 rage cost would be 6 rage. 3 rages, half of that, so 0.5% per basic attack. Basically means that if you are getting, let's see, it should be like a 1.3 second attack interval, so you're getting like 40 basic attacks in a minute. That means that you're getting 120 extra rage per minute, meaning that you get like 1/5 of an extra, 20% of an extra ultimate per minute. You have to do 5 minutes worth of attacking in order to get 1 extra ultimate out of this. It's really not that great at the end of the day. Extra 300 attack. I think that these A2s with extra attack are very underrated. It is unfortunate it's not the 5% that we see sometimes on here, because when the heroes attack is over 6,000, and this 300 attack ends up being less than the 5% would be. But it's still really nice, and if you are an endgame player, I do think that this is a pretty key awakening at the end of the day. I have noticed this on a lot of my heroes. When I get them to A2, they do seem to kind of like level up. Reason being that at a certain point, because of the way the gear is structured in this game, you end up kind of getting capped on the amount of stats that you can stack. There's really only so much you can do, aside from getting just crazy lucky with gear rolls or something like that. So this extra attack, because it gets expanded, it's not just 300 attack, it's 300 base attack, meaning that all of your attack bonus multipliers are also going to multiply this 300 attack. That it ends up being significantly more. It probably ends up being somewhere around 1,000 attack, which it's It's significant. It's not insignificant, that's for sure. A3 is where he really does get a big boost here. Within 10 seconds after Sweeping Strike is activated, each direct damage dealt inflicts damage or additional damage one time equal to 35% of the direct damage. Cool. Cool. I mean, extra damage is nice. Within 10 seconds after Ember Strike is activated, each direct damage dealt inflicts additional damage 2 times, each time equal to 25% of the direct damage. So basically, if we just remove the iterative part of this, it is 35% extra for Sweeping Strike, his base, and then if you get the Special Strike and you parry during the ultimate within 3 seconds, you're going to get plus 50% direct damage, which is nice. Very, very nice. And what I've seen in the people that have done damage tests on him, it has been shown that this is the biggest one. This is the biggest jump right here. The A4 plus 8% penetration, that's going to go nicely with his, there's a defense ignorer aspect to his kit. And penetration, again, kind of goes with what I was saying. It helps you kind of overcome enemy defense. So that is going to really help out later on. All right, let's go look at A5, the A5. Aside from the A3, this is the biggest one as far as his damage output is concerned. So Sweeping Strike and Ember Strike, launched during Tranquil Reflection, will always trigger Swallow counter. Woo! Yeah, baby. That's what we like to see. That is the removal of the RNG that I was talking about before that allows you to depend on double, basically, Sweeping Strikes and Ember Strikes, which is his big damage ability, right? So you're getting like a straight double on that, which is just amazing. Really, really fantastic. Now, the problem with that is you got to pull like crazy to get him there. And I think the people that are going to be able to get him there are going to be few and far between. I think you need somewhere in the neighborhood of like 3,000 rare summons in order to guarantee, or not guarantee, but have a good shot at getting 6 copies of this guy. I just think that there's better things to pull on. I don't think that there's better things coming out in the next month that would be better to try to shoot for A5 on. Beelzebub, Twyla, I know he's exclusive, and there's like a certain amount of FOMO because you're not going to be able to pull for him until the next time they decide to run his event. But just because he's exclusive doesn't mean he's good. I mean, we got Gwendolyn in the game. We've got Reeve in the game, who I like. I like Reeve, but he's not a game breaker by any means. Lust couples with arrogance and kind of enhances the other units that are around her, the other nightmare units that are around her. She does some really unique things that way as well. So I definitely prefer Lust over this guy. As cool as I think he is, he does have that dual faction membership, so he is going to be able to be used with like an Ingrid in the Watchers or something like that. So I am looking forward to getting him just for that reason, but I don't really expect him to be able to be used in GVG. So me personally, I'm not really all that excited about him. He does have this cool skin, which I do like, but I'm sure they're going to charge like $30-40 for it. I like this skin a lot better. Obtained from the Shorn Spirit limited bundles. So they're probably going to give you maybe some divines, definitely some rare summons, and then you'll get this kind of like shadow form of him. Yeah, he's a cool hero. I don't want to make it seem like I'm trashing him. I just want to set expectations realistically. And I think that there's probably a few places that he is going to work very well. I think he'll be very good in Arena. If you care about that, then he's going to be a good addition to a Nightmare comp in Arena. If you have solid Nightmare heroes, if you've got Lust and Arrogance and Torador and things like that, he is going to be quite good there. Beyond that, I think Guild Boss 1, Guild Boss 2, future boss content he's going to be really good in. I think there's some spots in Epilogue that he's probably going to be quite good in. But as far as the game modes that I personally care about, and I think probably a lot of you care about, because I think most of my audience is very GVG focused, I don't think that he is going to be somebody that is going to be a game breaker in GVG. I think that the fact that he is limited to both of his skills, both of the ways that he activates this Sweeping Strike or Ember Strike are wholly reliant on him taking damage. And I can tell you right now, if we look at his hero details here, his HP, 26k HP, 2,000 defense. HP is relatively high, honestly, for a fighter. But even still, that 2k defense, he's going to get one shot by most units in the game, most demon soldiers in the game. If he takes damage, you better hope his ultimate is up. And you don't have control over that, right? Because you're not manualing him when he's on defense, right? So I don't know. You know, could I see situations where you set him up and he does like his sweeping strike or ember strike, and it's really well timed, and it does a bunch of damage, and it can kind of derail an attack. Yeah, I could potentially see that. Do I think that there's going to be a way to reliably do that, or that people are not going to just sit on it until until it comes through and then they go afterwards? I mean, you bait it just like any other ultimate at the end of the day. And then the big thing here, the biggest thing for me, is because of his range. I don't know why they keep doing this. Well, I shouldn't say that. My buddy Russell, he told me the other day, he's like, the reason they keep doing this is because these units are designed for boss fights. So they keep giving fighters with one tile range because they are designed for boss fights, and they're not designed to be sat behind a tank and be able to hit, you know, units that are in front of the tank. But that's really the only way that you're going to be using fighters for the most part in GVG. So for me, he's going to be a big pass. I think he's going to largely just sit there, and every 40 seconds, plus maybe once every time his ultimate is up, he's going to do the sweeping strike thing. Maybe it does some damage. I don't think it's going to be enough to take out a big line of demon soldiers or anything like that, but you know, just based on what I've seen. But you know, we'll have to wait and see how that kind of manifests. I wish there was a way for me to effectively test heroes on the test server in GVG, but there really isn't, unfortunately. That would be the kind of testing that I would really be interested in sharing with you guys. But I thought about doing a damage test for him. I was going to, and then I did a quick Google search, and I saw that there's been he's been very well tested, especially because he's been out for so long. So I don't think there's anything more that I can add to that. I will say some of the tests that I saw, I questioned the way that some of the other heroes he was being compared to were built. Just on their attack level, I think that you really need to stack attack, especially in the Guild Boss 2 tests. But I think he's going to do good damage. There's no question about that. I did some brief testing, and he did on Guild Boss 1, he was doing about like 60% of an A5 Arrogance's damage, which, I mean, at A0, that's incredible. That's really, really good. It's not incredible, but it's good. It's respectable, right? But I just don't think that he's not exceeding it. He's not going to be number one DPS anywhere, and he's going to be okay. He's going to do his job. He's going to be a solid hero. I am going to get him. I'm certainly going to pull for him. He does some unique stuff. This whole sweeping strikes thing and the dispel and all that and bleed and all that. I want him on my squad, but I am not going to be pulling past 250. You know, I will get one copy of him, and then I'm going to be calling it quits. And if I'm wrong, maybe I'll go big on him next time around. But that's pretty much all I got to say on this guy. I do hope this was helpful to you. Let me know what you're thinking in the comments. You going for him? You skipping him? Are you pulling 3,000 summons in order to get him A5? I would not recommend that. You're going to be buying the skin. I think the skin is cool. I won't be buying the skin, but I could get why you'd want that. Cool Shadow Warrior kind of dude with these horns and stuff. He's really cool looking, especially. I love the look of him, and I'm kind of blocking it a little bit, but like this whole like half demon thing where he's got the horns and then his whole right side is like just charred and burned and stuff. I don't know. I think he's a really cool looking hero. I wish he was going to be, in my opinion, better than what he's going to be, but you know, it is what it is. In any case, guys, thank you so much for tuning in and listening to me ramble on about this guy. Please do like and subscribe if you did enjoy this content. I'll catch you all next time.